morning, and welcome to the Tune Tapestry, a show where we tug at the threads of traditional and classical music and instruments from around the world and discover the surprising connections between them. The Tune Tapestry here at 5EBI 103.1 FM, Adelaide's multicultural and ethnic radio station, where we look at traditional instruments from around the world. And as you may have guessed from the Akadaka you just heard, we are still continuing our sojourn through the world of bagpipes. We're not going from the top as we did last week. We're starting from the letter D, because we got through the bagpipes beginning with A, B, and C last week. So, the first bagpipe beginning with D is the diple, also called a msniche, from Bosnia-Herzegovina, Croatia, Slovenia, Montenegro, and Serbia. It has a double chanter with two separate single reeds and no drone, so both the melody and the harmony are played on the chanter, like the Cornish bagpipes we heard last week. The specific intonation of the pipe, so the scale it uses and the how high or low it is, varies from region to region, and it's made of a tanned goat skin. In some places, the chanter, which is the bit with the finger holes that you play the melody on, exists separately as a fipple flute. Now, a fipple flute is the technical name for a recorder. It just means there's a small block of wood in the mouthpiece, and it's played without the bag in some regions, like a recorder, like two recorders next to each other. Like what Mr. Tumnus plays in the original BBC editions of Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. I'm getting off track, but let's listen to the Dipple Croatia entry from Sean Folsom's album 30 Types of Old World Bagpipes. The musician, unfortunately, is uncredited, but it was the only recording I could find, so let's go. And now we've got to the whole list of bagpipes that have a name something like Duda. We'll start with the one played in Hungary, which is also known as a tomlosip or a borduda, I think. I don't speak Hungarian. It has two drones, a medium one and a bass one, and a chanter where the tune is played. And there's an animal head carved stock which attaches to the bag, so it looks like there's a little animal head there. Historically made of dog skin, but these days it's usually made of goat skin. It is played in a particular way that uses high notes to articulate low notes, which is the way that piparach, traditional pipe music in the Highlands of Scotland, is also played, I know. But this has influenced some fiddle genres in Hungary. And it was historically the preferred instrument at celebrations, with a lone piper at a country ball or a wedding. but that was gradually replaced by professional bands from the 1920s onwards. And Bela Bartok wrote a piece called Bagpipe in volume 5 of his Microcosmos, which imitates the sound of the duda. We're not going to hear that now. I'll save that for the end of today's show. So we'll hear the actual Hungarian duda now, played by Michael Breno. Yeah, let's go. That was the Hungarian bagpipe, or Hungarian duda. So let's move over to Latvia, where their local bagpipe is called the dudas. Just one sound different. It was popular in the 16th to 18th centuries and believed to have first appeared in the region in the 15th century. But playing the dudas was banned from 1753 by the Moravian church congregations, who often collected and destroyed all local dudas, especially in Vidzeme. There is a mouthpiece, a chanter, a drone, all traditionally made of maple wood, and the skin is made from sheep, goat, dog, or calf, with the fur inside. So let's hear it. Here is the group Auli playing Carotais live at a music festival in Spain in 2013. So that was the Latvian Dudas. So nearby to Lithuania now, where they have the Dudmaišis, also known as the Lopero Duda. So say Lithuanian bagpipe. It's a single chanter, a single drone, that is made of sheep, ox, goat, or dog skin, or a sheep's stomach, which is different to a lot of the other bagpipes, which are made of skin. It's mentioned in written sources beginning in the 16th century, but by the mid-20th century it was only played in eastern Lithuania. There are a couple of modern music groups that play it, but we're going to listen to a traditional wedding song from northeastern Lithuania. And that's it for the bagpipes beginning with D. So we're now up to bagpipes beginning with G. And in fact, the Gaita Galega, which is from Galicia and northern Portugal. Now, this to me is important in terms of bagpipes because, bear with me, I was 16 or 17 years old and I was in Toledo in Spain attempting to learn Spanish. And I walked through the square and there was a group of musicians there, including a bagpiper. And I turned to my teacher and said, "That's not a bagpipe." And she's like, "That's a gaita." Like, duh. And I'm like, hang on a minute. I know there's bagpipes in Brittany, but I didn't realize there was bagpipes in Spain. And she's just like, obviously, there's bagpipes. It's called the gaita. It's not a bagpipe. So yes, the Galician bagpipe was my first introduction to bagpipes outside of the ones that I normally encounter in Scottish music, the Great Highland bagpipes, the Uilleann pipes, the water pipes, and the small pipes. And so, yeah, I'm excited to talk more about the Galician gaita, which is from Galicia, northern Portugal. The word gaita refers to bagpipes across northern Spain and Portugal, but in southern Spain and Portugal it refers to a horn, flute, or oboe-like instrument. The name most likely comes from the Gothic word for goat, and it is used for bagpipe instruments both in Eastern Europe, where the Visigoths were from, and in Spain, where they immigrated and ruled in the 5th to 8th centuries. So the Galician gaita has a bass drone and up to 2 other drones playing the tonic and dominant notes. It's traditionally available in 3 keys, D, C, and B flat, and the most typical form of a Galician pipe band is playing close harmony with 2 gaitas of the same key. It was popular in the Middle Ages, from as early as the 9th century, but it declined in popularity from the 16th to the 19th centuries. And 2 separate revivals occurred, first in the 19th century, and then in the 1970s to the 1990s, which is when folk revivals occurred worldwide. So let's hear Carlos Simas playing Cantigas de Santa Maria on the Galician gaita. So we're in the list of bagpipes beginning with G, which brings us to the bagpipe you're probably most familiar with, the Great Highland Bagpipe, or as I would call it, a fiap mór. From Scotland, obviously. And it's the most widespread recognition of it is through British military pipe bands. But, as we'll get to in a moment, that's not the original or only application of it. It's first attested in Scotland around 1400 and first referenced in a military context. Now, as I was saying last week and this week, if you come away with anything from our pipe segment of the tune Tapestry, it's that it's a universal thing and not a Celtic thing. And you'll notice, although the Scottish bagpipes are one of the most popular forms of bagpipes, first appeared in Scotland in 1400, bagpipes in Spain, 8th to 9th century, bagpipes elsewhere possibly even earlier. So it's more like something that the Celts picked up from mainland Europe than the other way around. Anyway, it's most famous for its use in pipe bands, as I mentioned, but the pibroch, which literally means pipiness, repertoire is solo and virtuosic. It's developed, there's a ground theme, the urwar, and then a series of increasingly complex variations on it. And this was developed by several dynasties of bagpipers in chiefs' courts in the 16th and 17th centuries. One of the main families that did this was called the MacCrimmons, who you may be familiar with if you're a Doctor Who fan, a piper by the name of Jamie MacCrimmon, who was a bagpiper from that period in Doctor Who. The chanter of the Great Highland Bagpipe has two reeds. There are two tenor drones, one bass drone. They each have a single reed. They sit across the shoulder, and it has the range of a single octave in Mixolydian mode, the flattened seventh. And it's usually sharper than the standard concert pitch, which means it can't play with other instruments. Now, I play fiddle, so this is particularly annoying for me, and I do have to say I prefer Scottish small pipes or border pipes or uilleann pipes, even just for the reason, well, for one thing, they're an indoor instrument. The Great Highland Bagpipes are an outdoor instrument, but also they play in a key that you can play along to them if you are an instrument that's not a bagpipe. What was I saying? The Great Irish War Pipes, which is another sort of bagpipe, were similar enough that when they were revived in the 20th century, they just used the Highland bagpipes, the people who revived it, although sometimes they removed one of the tenor drones. So let's listen to Pipe Major Donald MacLeod, playing the Ceol Mór, which is the classical traditional music I mentioned, the pibroch, but he's playing the piece Clan Campbell's Gathering. are listening to the Tune Tapestry here on Radio 5EBI 103.1 FM, Adelaide's multicultural and ethnic broadcaster, and we are continuing our journey through the bagpipes of the world. We're in the bagpipes beginning with G, going alphabetically, which brings us to Georgia, the country, not the state, where they play the Gudastviri, which means Gouda it means bag, the word Gouda, and whistling, the word spheri, smushed together to create the Gudastviri, or Georgian bagpipe. Other names regionally include the Chiboni and the Tulumi. There are no drones on the Georgian bagpipe. Most bagpipes have drones, but there are two chanters made out of goat horns. They look like goat horns too. And they can produce two-part chords and two-part tunes due to having the two chanters. The Gudastviri is often used for vocal accompaniment of recitative songs, so epic poetry, that sort of stuff. It's traditionally only played by men and often by travelling musicians who made their income from playing at weddings and parties. So here's August Demercy playing the Gudastviri. So we're getting further and further east on the second half of today's program. We're heading off now to Kuwait and the rest of coastal Persian Gulf, where they play the Haban, which comes from the Persian word meaning bag, also called the jirba. It is, and I cannot say this emphatically enough, an extremely huge bagpipe, or specifically an extremely huge bag that's carried at the front of the body, like the whole other body, rather than tucked under the arm as bagpipes in Europe. Here's Saeed Kish playing the Haban. Said Kish playing the Haban, a Kuwaiti bagpipe. There are not many bagpipes I've discovered outside of Europe. Most of the bagpipes are in Europe, and we're heading back there now, specifically to Bulgaria, where they play the Kaba Gaida, a large bagpipe from the Rhodope Mountains. As I mentioned before, gaita or gaita is a very common word for bagpipe across Europe, coming from a Gothic word. It has two drones, and there's also another sort of bagpipe in Bulgaria, the Jura gaita, which is higher pitched and has one drone. The bag is made from sheep or goat skin, and there are different methods of treating it from region to region, including salt, milk, and flour, and sometimes the fur is removed and sometimes it isn't. So here's Atanas Todorov playing the Bulgarian Kaba Gaida. Bulgaria now to Poland, where there are two sorts of bagpipes. First, the koza from specifically the southern mountainous regions of Poland. The name means goat, which I think I've said about most of the bagpipes. It has 3 drones, one in a separate drone pipe and 2 others in a 3-channeled chanter. It would make it quite unique looking. So let's hear a little bit of that before I talk about the other Polish bagpipe. Other regions of Poland have other sorts of bagpipes. One of them is the kozioł, which I hope I'm pronouncing right. Basically, all I know of Polish is that if the L has a line through it, it's a W, I think. So it's also called the kozioł biały or the kozioł weselny, and it's specifically from around the city of Spashin. Has a drone with a horn on it, which looks quite cute. And it's inflated by bellows rather than the mouth, so there's a bellows under the elbow. The name means white goat because the hair is usually left on the outside of the goat skin rather than turned inside, as it often is in other pipes. And the chanter stock often has the carved wooden goat's head on it. So basically, goat horns, goat heads, they're really going for the goatiness of this particular bagpipe. But here's Adam Kaiser on the bagpipe and Martina Zurek on the fiddle, playing Świeci Miesiak Świeci. Hope there's no Polish people listening to correct me on that, because I'm sure that was terrible. But here we go, let's listen to them. Bagpipe and fiddle from Poland here. Back now to the British Isles, known for having bagpipes, and yet don't seem to have many bagpipes compared to the rest of Europe. But we're going to look at the Lincolnshire bagpipes. And it's unclear from historical records whether this refers to a specific regional variation peculiar to Lincolnshire or not. But the pipes were definitely popular there. A number of commentators from the 1400s to the 1800s talk about the particular enthusiasm of the Lincolnshire people for bagpipes compared to people elsewhere, say Scotland. In fact, it's even mentioned in a Shakespeare play, Henry IV, Part 1. But the bagpipes had fallen out of use in Lincolnshire by 1850. In 1984, a man called John Addison began research into trying to establish whether there was in fact a uniquely local bagpipe that existed in the area. And in 1989, he finished making a set of pipes based on the limited sources that he found. So we're going to hear those pipes that he made, played by Al Garrod, who's playing Lebens, Distones, and Quan Iver, which are two medieval tunes, I think. And there is some wind noise in the recording, so you'll have to forgive that, but it really is the only recording I can find of this particular Lincolnshire bagpipe. And one more bagpipe before we finish today's programme, the Makedonska gaida, or Macedonian bagpipe, which is medium pitched and similar to the two Bulgarian pipes. I think I mentioned Bulgarian Kaba gaida earlier in the programme. There is a single cylinder drone and the bag is made of sheep or goat skin. And as with the Bulgarian one, there are different methods of treating it. Sometimes removing the fur and sometimes not. Here's Petar Angalevsky playing the Makedonska gaida, or Macedonian bagpipe. Isn't that nice? I like modern poppy bagpipe music. I like very, very traditional bagpipe music. From the sounds of things, the only thing I don't like is pipe bands. But I do like modern pipe music, which is why we finished last week with AC/DC. But I did already promise this week that we'd finish with a bit of Bartok. So here we go. Bella Bartok, Volume 5, number 138, called Bagpipe Music. Which will bring us to the end of the show, so I'll say my goodbyes now. This has been The Tune Tapestry, hosted by me, Rachel Hay, here on 5EBI 103.1 FM, Adelaide's multicultural and ethnic radio station, and you can tune in again next week at the same time, 8 AM on a Wednesday, as we continue our voyage through the bagpipes of the world. We're going to go even further afield than Europe next week. So, I'll see you then. Bye. Stick around for data, and until then, here's Bartok.